most businesses don't really rely on their website to generate more business, to generate more leads, or even like sales in general.
For over 15 years, Ari has helped companies turn their websites into real growth engines.
Some even happy not have any website, or just like a very simple website that say, hey, we exist. Why do you need a website? And if you do need a website, what is it actually for? Are you really solving a business problem here, or are you just making things pretty? Okay, you really want to get purchased as soon as they land on your website, converting that leads into a customer. Everything starts with the vision.
Hey, Ari, I wanted to ask you who should be tuning in and why they should stick around to the end of our conversation today.
So, for those who are currently running a business and really trying to understand, like, how can I leverage my website as a channel for growth, one channel that can really help them get to their business goal for revenue, more sales, more bookings, right? Overall, just like making them a business owner who understand how to navigate the different marketing channels and delivering the right experience for their target audience on the web.
All right. And if you think about objectives and why you should have a website, what would be the main reason that you usually tell your clients, like why you should have a website and why you should look amazing the way that I know that you can produce? How do what do you tell them?
Oh, that's a really hard question. And the reason why I say this is a hard question because I'm not in a business to convince people that they should have a website, right? Because not all businesses might need a website. And the reason why is because most businesses don't really rely on their website to generate more business, to generate more leads, or even like sales in general. Some even happy not have any website, or just like a very simple website that say, hey, we exist, and that's pretty much it. So I would ask, like, why do you need a website? And if you do need a website, what is it actually for? Many times when I talk to different clients in the past, I would ask them this one question. It's like, so what is the purpose of your website? And oftentimes they would say, like, you know what? We never really thought that we would need a reason to have a website. But things change in their business and they realize how important their website could be, right? In terms of like giving the right presence of, their perception in the market of the brand, of the business, of their own positioning as well. And they started to think about like, how can we really leverage this? Because not only this can be a brand builder component in their business, but also a wheel for them to really market themselves online and then generate more
All
business.
right. I like the fact that you said I'm not in the business of convincing people that they need a website. That was like amazing. I even took a note in here because you're right. Like a lot of like other agency owners or agency employees, when they get any kind of lead, they try to convince people that they need exactly what they're offering. And what you're saying is more like I don't have to convince you that you need what I need. It's like I need to know like what you want. What's the objective that you have with your website, right? Which
Yeah.
I translate more into like what's the actually objective of the company that involves the website or not, right?
That's
So
true.
yeah. So one thing that I wanted to know is more like, okay, so you got a prospect, someone that came to you, hopefully through your website, and then they say, look, I think I need it, but I have no clue why I need it. Can you help me? What would you tell them?
Okay. So oftentimes I would really try to understand like what is their business, right? Different business or businesses, I should say, needs different type of website. For example, a B2B website versus a direct-to-consumer website. The overall business is already different, and the way you're leveraging your website will also be slightly different. If you really look at how your customer acquisition really structure D2C is really just like, okay, you really want to get purchased as soon as they land on your website, right? And converting that leads into a customer. But for B2B, it's like you're not going to expect somebody to come into your website and purchase on day one. That's just not how B2B cycle typically work, right? Now, if you're a SaaS and you're like a well-known SaaS company, maybe that would be your very quick sales cycle. But oftentimes, I prefer to really understand like what is the business and what is the goal for the next year and 5 years, because then we are building a solution for the long term, right? Many times when people come to us, they often share that, oh, we just put something together on Wix and now we kind of regret it, or we put something like a very how do we say this, like a very quick solution using Upwork, and now we need something more. So your business will evolve, and I think we all understand that. And it's okay if you need to start something very small, even today with AI, things like that, go for it. But remembering that at the end of the day, as your business scale and grow, the system that you're using, the tech stack that you're using, and your website also need to help accommodate that growth, right? So if you need to start thinking about like, how would I use my website in the next year or in the next 5 years in terms of like getting more leads, more booking, or maybe even more sales, like how does that going to impact the cycle for our own customers as they coming through us using the website?
The analogy that I use that I often use when we're talking about website, right? And you touched the point of like the business will evolve, therefore the needs, I'm paraphrasing you, therefore the needs of the website may change, right?
Mm-hmm.
As the business evolves. I usually say that when they come to us to talk about a website or even a system, I say, look, it's just like a house. When you buy a house, maybe you're single, maybe you're in your teen years and all you need is a bedroom, a
Mm-hmm.
microwave, and a place to shower, right?
Yes.
And then as you find a partner and then you grow, and then your house will need some changes. And then if you have
Mm-hmm.
kids, it's gonna need something bigger, right? So
Yes.
as you were explaining about this, it came back this kind of analogy of the website being the house that actually evolves as you evolve as well as a
Mm-hmm.
business or
Yeah.
as a person, right?
Yeah.
And and when you do that, right, when you're having this conversation, and I'm sure that you have a specific type of persona, right? Like business owners that they are in a specific moment of of their career or of their business that you would have more impact. Like if you were to pinpoint that, like what kind of like business owners you would be more effective working with?
You know what's really interesting about that question is I see many of our clients are in this inflection point or a transitioning from who they were previously and who they want to become in the next 5 years, right? One of the clients that we have helped in the past were transitioning from being part of two separate foundation. It's a non-for-profit foundation here in Chicago, and they will merge into one bigger non-for-profit organization. And there's a lot to think about, right? How do we want to merge both brands into one, and then the experience from the different, technically two separate target audience now into one as well, although then you'll segment more. But how is that going to look like in terms of like the user experience, the interface, the tech stack, combining both different organizations? So many of the clients that we have tend to have complex integration and technology on their web platform, right? And then we come in to really help not just clean things up, but more organizing and taking the lead on like what you need to keep versus what can really be utilized for longer term, depending on the business growth. The other clients that we had a couple of years ago came to us, they've been in business for over 30 years. And many times I feel like a lot of the businesses that we work with has matured in their, business, I guess like cycle, but they haven't really thought about how important a website could be in terms of like strengthening their positioning in the market. So for them, it's not really about like generating more sales. I think they're doing okay on sales. But what's more important for them is that their image that they have been portraying in the community and in the industry doesn't really match with the current website that they had, right? So they're like, to be honest, Ari, and I was quoting them, I'm really embarrassed of my website because I don't want people to see my website. But everybody in our industry are checking up on us, right, on the internet and stuff like that. And I think this is time for us to finally, take that move. So I think many of the times once we deliver on that, what happened is really interesting. Not just their presence align with where they want to go, but what they didn't realize, it also bumped up their sales. We actually managed to 3 times or triple their leads on the website after that project. So you never actually dig deeper into it sometimes for some of these businesses because they undermine the power of branding as well as like the right user experience and perception.
Look, I wanted to touch the point that you said when these businesses are in an inflection point, right? Like maybe they grew up to a point and they're like, who we want to become,
Yeah.
right? It's more like, okay, this is where we started, we are here now, and we need to
Mm-hmm.
get there. So they kind of hit a limit that somehow they realize that the website, how they're portrayed, needs to change slightly to get to a different point,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the other one is the 30-year old kind of company that's like, okay, they always thought we are here, but we've changed, and currently this is not who we are, right? So, and I'll be honest, that this kind of touches me because when I got Digivate as well, it was like I was exactly in there. It's like the website that is in there, it doesn't reflect the new direction, right? So I kind of, when you were saying that, okay, she's sticking the finger right into my wound, right? But I think it's really important for you to kind of understand this business, right? One thing that I
Mm-hmm.
noticed, because I talked to a lot of agency owners, right? You know that, or you and I, we were
Yeah.
having a chat last week, for example, right? And one thing that I noticed is that a lot of business owners, they don't really understand what is the website, what is branding,
Mm.
right? They think branding is a logo, the website is
Mm-hmm.
just one thing that should be there, that should never
Mm-hmm.
even like that they don't do anything, right? That ties up with you. It's like with what you said in the beginning. It's like, what is actually the objective that you want, right? And some of them, for them, is an afterthought, right? And I think the importance of the work that you do, because I've seen it, right, and I
Mm-hmm.
lived it. It's more like it's the way that you do. Like you see the whole content, you see the flows of the users that are going to be touching the website,
Yeah.
you see if it makes sense with where you currently are, where you were, and where you currently are, and where you're going, right? And this conversation that you're having with me now, like it reflects like a conversation we had some months ago as well, right? And but if you were to talk about a little more about the branding, right? Because the website, like it does depend on the objective, but then what about the branding and how tied this branding is tied to the website in itself? How would you tackle these with a prospect?
Oh, that's a really good question. You know what's funny? I feel like a lot of time people misinterpret that website design is a separate thing from branding and marketing. It's not. It's just, a separate channel that you just need to pay close attention to because it is your home on the internet, right? And it will house your brand, your marketing, your process. Everything is going to be in there. It's going to live there if you'd like it to be. And I think many businesses who really utilize their website to the max really understand what information can really go and live on your website so that it's not only serving your target audience, but also being picked up by SEO or now even with AEO, GEO, all the EOs out there, to really understand like how are you standing out amongst all the different competitors, right? But back to your questions, like how does the branding really relate with the websites that we have, or even like how do we make sure that it ties in? I think oftentimes people not seeing the full picture, how their brand really attached to everything in the business, right? Oftentimes you would hear like, oh, I just need the business strategy. Branding will come later. By branding, they will say like the logo, the colors, all the pretty stuff. Like, no, I am a big believer that the business strategy and the brand strategy that really go hand in hand, right? Because you're really talking about your business as a living being because it is. Eventually it will have, you know, customers, partners, maybe investors, board of advisors, so on and so forth. It will continue on living. But if you don't treat brand as the core part of your business, you won't see how to build the right connection essentially with your target audience and projecting your business the right way to the world essentially. So when we do work on any web project, brand is the first thing that we're trying to understand as well after learning the business objective. Like, what is your brand? Like, what are you all about? We can't be creating a website design that only relies on your favorite color, for example, right? Or only rely on like, oh, I like these competitors and these website, go create something similar like those. Like, we can't really do that. And I think for some other people, you can get by doing that. But if you truly want to not just set yourself apart in the market, but also really connect with your target audience, you have to hone in on your brand first. Otherwise, whatever else you do, or any type of like, different themes that you will buy for website design, it will not click simply because you don't have the soul of the business translated into your brand and website.
All right. It is a complex answer to an interesting question, as you said,
Yeah.
right? Because oftentimes people do make this confusion. It's like I think the only people that really understand what branding is are like brand designers, brand specialists, right? So,
Yeah.
and I wanted to touch two things in there. First, one of them that you touched, I understand this, but what do you mean by GEO, AEO, and why would that be important? And second, how would you define branding in simple terms when anyone or a 9-year-old could understand?
Oh my gosh. Okay, that second question is hard because I have a 10-year-old, right? And for him, he also is trying to understand what world am I living as, my own work here running the agency, but more so, what really is a brand? I think for him, the way he sees it, how I have explained it to him, brand really is this, you can call it a living entity, you can call it products, or maybe sometimes businesses or people, right? Brand could be, these days, it can be anything, but it really is one entity that really resonate with us as the customer, client, or consumers because it creates that connection, right? I once heard, and I completely forgot where I hear this, but business sole purpose is to create customer. And for businesses to really stay connected with customers, it needs to have a strong brand, right? And how do you envision like building a business that won't become remembered or even like being chosen over competitors if you don't have a strong brand? So coming back to your question, like how do you explain brand to people that maybe don't understand the complex background or experience with it? I would say it's, think about it like brand as identity that you want to embrace, right? If you are targeting moms, or if you're targeting, dads who love soccer, or like something else, very particular type of people, if you create a brand that truly resonates with them, you win, simply because you are really creating that connection with the target audience you want to impact, and essentially, make them rave about you and choose you over all the other products or brands out there.
I will get back to this. I just want to touch base. Can you explain what was GEO and AEO? Your understanding, so people can make the connection if they don't understand what that means.
Okay, so we're living in the digital world. And honestly, not so much digital, it's more like agentic AI world, right? I think it's just like getting super advanced, I would say, in terms of like all the different AI tools that we're using. It's just a matter of like, what, a year and a half. And I think it's so fascinating to see how quickly content get um, content influence many different types of search engine. Now, we already know all things about SEO, and I think many of us have dabble a lot in those, whether it's for our clients, for ourselves, and things like that, to get picked up by search engines. But now we're also trying to make sure that we can also get recommended to users and our customers using AI, products. So I think for many of those out there who may be not familiar with the term, think of it this way. I'm gonna just like speak it plainly, right? AEO or GEO, whatever EO is out there right now with AI, essentially, if you are searching or using any AI tools and you're asking for a recommendation, let's say like, hey, I want to actually go take my wife to a special restaurant in Chicago, and it will recommend maybe like the top 3, right? Or maybe it would ask you first, like, okay, what kind of restaurant? Are you looking for something upscale, maybe something casual, so on and so forth? And the more information that you're giving or feeding into AI, the harder it works in the back end to try to find this recommendation online based on all the local content available for those particular keywords and search terms. So if you are a business, for example, like honestly, any business really right now, if you have for a lot of content, keywords, and essentially SEO in the past decade, chances are you probably get picked up pretty quickly by any of these AI tools out there. But for those who maybe don't really spend enough investment, I should say, whether it's like, time and efforts or cost investment for search in general, you might not get picked up. So now you have to kind of like catch up to all of these race around like, can we generate more content that are relevant to our business, so that when the time is right, all of these different search um, essentially, well, searching, our business can then get picked up and being recommended. So I think this is a very interesting era, I feel like, for all of us to create yet again more content and try to, get recommended. But it's no longer like trying to be the first on Google or the first page on Google, right? It's more about like, are we being recommended for the relevant things that we provide based on our, business?
Yeah. And I know, sorry that I asked you two really tough questions to answer, right? Especially like
You're
without
fine.
a heads up. But the thing is that there are some points that I want to talk about. I'll talk about the branding afterwards. But what I want to talk about is like even about the usage of AI nowadays, and the content, and why we create more content so we can actually being picked up by any one of the big LLMs out there that will make
Mm-hmm.
some suggestions.
Yeah.
And one of the thoughts that came to my mind as you were saying is that first one of them is like a business owner should be refined enough to understand that they have to do an investment in content, and I put also here in branding too, right? To show up, to then tying up to what you said earlier, like to
Mm-hmm.
generate, to get more clients, to get more
Mm-hmm.
customers,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is the whole idea of
Yeah.
having a business. Otherwise, you have a hobby,
Yeah.
right? So why we're doing that? It's like, of course, we're doing that because maybe we love what we do, or at
Mm-hmm.
least we want to survive or make money out of the business that we put out there, right? And the only way to do that is like if it's not a non-profit, right? If it's not a charity and you're asking for money for someone to pay the bills, you are actually surviving through your own sales. And if you're the best unknown secret, nobody will ever buy from you, right? So this investment, this refinement of investing in your own business, being content in the website, in branding, or in the whole package, right, of what the whole marketing is for you to get more businesses, you're gonna lose, right? No matter if it's SEO, EO, JGO, whatever term they're gonna coin tomorrow, right? So this is one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and that I just wanted to note that I thought about as you were describing this. And then going back into the branding, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is one concept that I've heard from someone that I think it should apply to branding, right? And then you're the specialist, I'm not, so I'm gonna share it with you, and you have my thumbs up to bash me on this, okay?
Sure.
So I'm part of Toastmasters, and there was one guy. He's a comedian, a stand-up comedian. He became a stand-up comedian through Toastmasters, which is amazing, right? And he is in the Latino sphere here in Toronto. So he started this to help Latinos get a job, right? So they come here to Canada, they don't have a job, but they are specialists in whatever they were doing back in their homes, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
he helps them. And then the whole concept of public speaking, if
Mm.
you apply to 101, it's important too. It's like you have to sell your fish, right? You have to
Yeah.
have your own personal brand, right? And he said something that it was really important. And then like I made a connection with branding not long ago. He said that you should be able to tell your story. And that's what I think the definition of branding is, in a way that people can tell your story when you're not in the room. And that's branding for me. It's like, this is it. Right? If someone can tell what your company is when you're not around, and they do that a good job, that for me is like, this is good branding. What do you think?
I heard that actually before. And yeah, there's like one particular, that's a quote for someone, right? I completely forgot who that is. But I do agree with that because if people don't understand exactly what you do, they're not going to remember you, right? And if you're not memorable, they also won't remember you. And even more so, are they saying the right thing about you, right? And I remember the first couple of years when I started my business, I was trying to be everything for everybody, every businesses, right? All I wanted was like, I remember thinking, it's like, I just want to help like all the businesses out there. And my mentor told me, it's like, Ari, if you're targeting everybody, you are targeting nobody. And I was like, you're right. And I started hearing people just like telling about me in a room when I was not there, right? And I would hear like, so and so told me that you do X, Y, and Z. And then another person say like, so and so told me that you would do X, Y, and Z. I was like, those are like not what I would say if I'm in a room, right? So I 100% agree with that. I think today, if we really look at it, right, are people really saying the right thing about us? I think you need to understand how are you projecting your own brand in different rooms, and even more so in the current circle that you're in. Do your people know exactly what you do and what you can offer to them and their network? And I think many of us, we have this issue about trying to become a lot of things, especially as we start leaning towards like all the shiny objects out there. And I think it's so hard for entrepreneurs in particular to focus on just the one thing. What is it that you want to be known for? What is that one thing? And I felt like for us, this finally have come much clearer now that we want to be known for all things web, right? Everything on the web, we are the one for that. And I think once you know exactly what is that one thing you want to be known for, everything else become clearer in terms of your messaging, your branding, your positioning as well. And I think it's so important because you want to make sure everybody else from now on really understand that is the one thing you want people to come to you for.
Yeah. And the thing that you touched about, like, I want to help everyone, right? Like, when you're trying to serve everyone and then you serve nobody, right? I think it's any kind of business owner has had this at least a moment that they thought about that, right? And it crossed my mind as you were saying that, like, it came about, like, the Miss Universe that they say, and what do you want? And I want world peace. Right? Like, I want to help the whole universe. It's like, not really, right? if we are really if we're really sincere with ourselves and with the people that we want to help, like,
Mm.
I would love to help anyone that doesn't have money, but I run a business, right? And it's a for-profit business. So if I needed to help someone that doesn't have money, I would probably have a not-for-profit, a charity, and then I would find money. Then I would be able to help those people that they don't have it, right? So having and being honest about that, because it's hard, right? It's like I like to believe that people are good in their hearts until proven the opposite, right? So when you are good in your heart, you're gonna try to help as many people as you can, right? But then as a business owner, that can become a distraction that may kill your business, right? And and then once you figure out, okay, I actually know, then you need to sound, I'll say something that may not sound correct, but you need to sound a bit arrogant, but in fact, you're just becoming more focused on your lane, right? Even when I was starting asking you some questions, like, Ari, like, which are like kind of like the clients, right? The prospects that you can be more effective with what you do,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when you said, we want to be known about everything related to web, that's us,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Like, before this call, I probably wouldn't have described oh my god,
Cicalofia.
Cicalophia as that. Even like, what Ari does, I was like, ah, shit, I don't know. He does design, branding, I don't know, right? These things, right? But because you figure it out, like, okay, this is our lane, suddenly the distractions, they go away, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you're focused on that one. And I don't know, maybe you can share this, but from my own experiences, like, this is one of the hardest things for you to kind of get through to the
Mm-hmm.
prospects, right? when they
Yeah.
when they come when they come to us, like, to my agencies, or they are always thinking, like, okay, it's like, who do you serve, right? We're super explicit about asking that, and I'm sure you do that the same. But then getting them to kind of focus on one thing, because what they think is that if I just focus on this, it's counterintuitive, I understand, right? If I just focus on this, look at all the business that I'm missing out, right? And it's a really hard limiting belief, that what they don't understand. And from my own experiences, like, I thought like that too, right? And there's part of me that still wants to kind of, oh, I want to serve more because I have more business, right? I'm leaving money on the table. But the thing is that if you're a specialist in something, everyone is clear that they go to you. There will come other businesses that are not your specialty, but they are going to come to you because you solved for that part, but then they have something else. And then suddenly, I think it's called the hello bias, right? Because you're really good at one thing, they believe you're good at anything, right? And the
Yeah.
example that I use is when people like you have like a soccer player, right? You're an
Mm-hmm.
American a soccer player. If you were English, it was a football player. So a soccer player, really good. And then they come, they ask them like, about soccer, and then suddenly they're like, you know what? What about the politics? Like, you know what's happening in the politics in here? It's like, what? And then like, who the hell would in their natural mind ask a soccer player about politics? But it's because they are specialists in one area, and then suddenly people come for their advice in other areas, which is the hidden part of this niching down
Mm-hmm.
from my own perspective and from my own experience.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
I would say 100% on the mindset that you mentioned earlier. I think a lot of us, there's this worry that, oh, am I too niche, right? Am I too small in terms of like my own pond, essentially? I would say, I think they're niching down can be so many different ways. You can niching down based on the service that you provide, the target audience that you're after, the industry, the verticals. There's just so many, right? But I felt like you'll have to understand like how much opportunity is out there that will be enough for you. It's not like you want to, service everybody, but it needs to sustain you in terms of like a particular niche that you are in. So I'm 100% with that because for the long time, it's such a challenge trying to advertise so many different capabilities that we have, right? It's just like, oh yeah, we can do this, that, and so many others, but do you really enjoy it? And I think that also comes down to like, are we really passionate about that? Is that the type of impact we want to deliver for our clients and their business? So I think we're just really narrowing it down to one thing that we are really well known from, all the clients' reviews and testimonials that we have, and even more so our own expertise in the web, right? So I felt like because to be honest, I don't really tell this to people, but um I started off as a graphic designer and I moved to web because it is such a fascinating world for me. And ever since then, this was like 17, 18 years ago, the web has been my world. So I felt like I've seen so many things have changed and I'm still super passionate about it because I don't know if you are like this, Leslie. Every single time I go to any type of events, conferences, meetings, all that kind of stuff, whenever somebody say the word website, my ear will perk up and it's like, oh, somebody says website. What is that about? So, I mean, it's just so close to my heart. And I felt like this is finally aligned with not just the interest and the skill set, but also my passion, right? So I think you have to also like lean in towards that because whatever niche that you are trying to own for your own business or category or what not, it has to have that passion, right? If people will see through you if you just saying, I'm in a niche for X, Y, and Z, and just because, but there's no passion behind it, people will truly see that. And even more so, you're probably not going to stay in that niche too long if you're not passionate about it. So making sure that this is like the right target audience that you really want to after, the right service that you want to deliver, and even more so, are you really passionate in delivering those services and making the impact?
Yeah, yeah. And in terms of the passion that you said, right? The there are some limiting beliefs, right? That we were talking about, like about niching down, and then talking about passion, because then when because it's a super common pathway that coaches and mentors try to establish with their mentees or right or clients, right? So it's about like saying like if you niche down, you're gonna be more focused, right? It's really hard, it's counterintuitive, but like that niche may be way bigger than you're thinking. right? And then sometimes one of the things that I notice is that they think about the niche. It's like, oh, but there aren't many people in there. So, let's be honest. How many new clients do you need a month, right? It's like
Exactly.
until you find capacity.
Yeah.
And they're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah. It's like, oh, but there are like, I don't know, maybe 3,000 people in the whole world that they have in there. It's like, and how many can you serve at the same time? 3,000. They're no, of course not. I'm like, so what you're saying? Like, so there is this beat that takes a while, right? But the other side of the passion thing, which I find it, I like it, and there are parts of me that agree. But there are some people that are passionate about something that may not be relevant to any solution that people are looking for,
Mm.
right? And they want to try and do a business of like, I'm passionate about, I don't know, I don't want to even give an example in here because it may offend some people, but like there must be like a bit of research in terms of like what you're passionate about. Like, is there a problem that your super skills, right, your superpowers in that realm solves a real problem for people, or is it just something that, I don't know, I'm passionate about like making dots on paper. Maybe you're gonna be an artist, and that's a different thing, right? But it's like, or nowadays, for example, talking about AI, people are like, I have no idea about AI. So there are business owners out there that they have no clue. Therefore, this is a real kind of problem that any teenager that lives in the website or in the digital world, as you said, like that is something that attracts you, and to be honest, attracts me a lot as well. They can go in there, and then this becomes, first, it's a paying opportunity. If you are a teenager or early 20s and you need some cash, that's a good business, right? But
Yeah.
you need to be techy enough, tech savvy
Hmm.
enough to understand this, and then have the patience of explaining that to someone that is not technical, like a baby boomer, like 60, 70-year old, that they think they need that, right? And then you need to be good at sales. So it's not only about your passion, but it's like you're solving a real problem. And then there are the skill sets around the thing for you to do that thing that you're passionate about, that it may be something that you don't really like to do, right? And then you have to navigate. So that's why whenever I hear or I talk about you have to be passionate about, I'm like, I agree with that, but you need to understand that your passion has a price too, right? Which is like the feasibility and all the other skill sets or activities for you to do that thing that you're passionate about. They work well with solving a real problem, right? Anyways, just thoughts that I had.
I
But
love that.
yeah, but one thing that I wanted to go back is like when you're talking about, oh, I come from a graphic designer background. Is that what you said, right? Tell me
Yeah.
a bit more like how you actually started your company, and then like tell me a bit the story. I want to know all about it actually.
Oh man, this is such a um it's so interesting because it will take me to, my memory lane, right? I was born and raised in Bali, and as you know, Bali is very tourism heavy island, and everything that you see left and right, the career that you would see as you grow up there is everything in tourism. So for a long time, I actually didn't know what I wanted to be or become like career wise until I dabble into a world of like, you know, skateboard, and then there's like pop culture, all that kind of stuff, and I learned about design, and it was like so fascinating. And to be honest, as I was growing up, whenever I watched TV and I saw a commercial, I always wonder, how do they know which product to really promote, right? And also, like, how do they do the messaging? Like, how do they make all of these look so appealing for consumers like ours to really want to buy it and go out there and, purchase it? And I finally realized all of these advertising world and graphic design is just super intriguing. So I went in to a art school in Bali, Indonesia, after turning down a 4-year um, free ride to tourism school. I was like, no, I'm gonna go to art school. They thought I was nuts. But here's another interesting thing. I don't know how to draw. So for someone who don't know how to draw and only have like a passion and just like, I want to be a designer, that is what I want. And my first 2 years, I have to tell you, I was so miserable because I don't know how to draw, and they force you how to do everything manually, right? Mixing up the colors, like typography, illustration, all of those. You cannot touch computer at all. And it was so miserable, and I would cry every night trying to make, all of these different homework and turning it in the next day. But I survived that, and I realized that yes, I need to get the exposure of all of these because I need to understand composition, color theory, all that different stuff. But what's really exciting is that I finally realized what power I have as a designer is that I can really translate people's vision and then bring that to life. I didn't realize that for a long time until mentor told me, like, you don't need to be a great artist to become a great designer. You already have the vision for that, so lean in towards that. And I felt like once I know exactly where I needed to go, I just rely more on that. So becoming a graphic designer, finally did that. Super interested in digital design and web design, became that. UI UX got introduced along the same time, I became that. And I felt like it's just like, keep going into the same um, trajectory in this marketing, sales, advertising world. And, I finally realized that everything starts with the vision. And when we help different clients through understanding what their vision and bringing that to life for their business, that is my superpower, right? Really seeing, like, I see your business and I can really envision and bring it to life for you so that you don't have to leave it just in your head. So around the same time, I started freelancing. I moved here to Chicago. I got married, and my husband, who is also my CTO at the time, he's basically just say like, "Hey, do you want to build a business with me?" I said, "Sure. What could go wrong?" There's a lot of things that could go wrong, right? So I would not recommend anybody who just got married to build a business with your spouse. You might need to, like, learn a little bit more about your spouse first. But for us, I think it was such a big learning trying to understand how do we combine both of our complementary skill set, and even more so, like, what do we really envision for the business as we grow it into the business that we are today, mainly around supporting businesses that I truly feel need the help that we can bring to the table. But even more so now, how do we make this business successful as well so that we can exit in the next 10 years? So I feel like there are such different ups and downs around your own business. I think everybody who runs a business can really attest to it, that there's so much that you need to look at when running a business. But I feel like if you don't have the foundation that what we talked about earlier around business strategy, brand strategy, or even like your marketing plan in general, it's really challenging to have a core foundation and your own lane, essentially understanding where do you really fit in the marketplace.
Yeah, it's amazing to see your journey, right? And even like the influence of where you were born, the influence of like what's kind of the culture in there, what kind of economic pressure you had to go towards tourism. and and it's a hard decision that you took in there, especially I'm assuming you did that in your late teens, early 20s, right?
Yes.
To kind of give away 4 years to kind of restart into something that your, I would say it's your curiosity that actually drove you towards
Hmm.
design,
Yeah.
right? Because you're like, oh, I'm seeing all these commercials, and I'm like, how you didn't say that, but I'm paraphrasing. How the hell do they do that? Like, how do they make the brand so appealing that convinces me or any other person to go and buy, to consume, right? This is what I understood. And then where that took you into like moving to Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you went through, you pushed through the whole manual process of, I don't know how to draw. What am I doing here? Like it reminded me of like when I wanted to do study physics and I sucked at maths, right? It's like, all right, I can't do it both, right? It's like, and then I gave up, for example. But that there are many things in there that like I could see a parallel, and everywhere that I went that I was successful, it was because I was driven by curiosity, not financially driven, but it was driven by my curiosity. And I feel like this is what you did. And then your curiosity towards design, then, and breaking away from this culture of your
Mm-hmm.
country and maybe family pressure, I'm
Mm.
assuming in here. So, right? I know because I felt it too. It's like we can talk about that afterwards, but it's all about you right now. Like how you broke through that one and made you go to Chicago
Mm-hmm.
and then finding a partner, doing freelancing, and then the most spectacular thing that you said is like your husband tells like, "Do you want to start a business with me?" And I get it, right? Because I always want to do a business with my wife because she is my partner for life. And then like, is there anyone that I trust more? Like she's my wife. It's like if I don't trust her, even with this, because a business can be a baby, right? Can be seen as a baby, right? And then like if you're a partner for life, do you want to have this weird baby business, right? So it can go wrong, as it could go wrong. Like I have a
Yeah.
baby for the wrong reasons, a real baby, and then
Mm-hmm.
the marriage goes south anyways, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I get what you're saying in terms of like newlyweds doing that. You know what? I'm happy that it worked out, right? And maybe it made the relationship even tighter, right? Stronger because of that. Because then it's more like we have a life together, we have a business together. So it's like, and people tell me that all the time, like, oh, you have to have like a line of personal life and professional life. I find this kind of so blurry because it's really hard for you. It's like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna turn it off my business mindset right now and
Yeah.
just live my life.
Yeah. That
And
is hard.
it is hard, but
Yeah.
if you if you have your partner, and then the other couple that came to my mind right now as I was saying that is Alex Hormozy and his wife Layla, right? They started as not even a couple, they started talking business and they became a couple, and then they're business in every single way, right? Like business partners, and then they are actually partners in life and in business, right? Because then these blurred lines can be all right.
Here's the thing, right? It's not for everybody. Even entrepreneurship is not for everybody, right? Like building a business with your spouse isn't for everybody. And I think you have to know yourself as well in terms of how do you set that life boundaries for yourself. Because I think it would be such a disaster if you don't know how you would work with, your spouse or even like family members and things like that, and things just go south. That's just unfortunate, right? And regardless, though, if you are building a business with someone that you have known for a while, be it like best friend, family, spouse, and things like that, it's a business. And I think documents have to be in place, right? Things have to be um, breaking away from your current relationship and seeing it in a new lens, because then you don't see it as personal treatment, like to some degree, because it was so hard in the first couple of years when Peter and I started a business, because we were newlywed, right? And we were in such unique phase trying to understand and build a relationship with each other as spouses, and now you're adding a layer on top of it as business partners. So for us to like seeing each other as spouses versus as business partner during the day, that was really hard. Setting that boundaries in respecting him as my co-founder and respecting his um, domain essentially on all the technology part of projects, and vice versa was very hard because a couple years into the business, at one point I was telling him how to code, he was telling me how to design. It's like this is not working. So I think we had to like really scale back and really understand like what do we want to be, what role do we want to really assign for each of us, so that not only it feels fair, but also we will respect each other on those particular roles and responsibilities.
Yeah. And I love the fact that you are actually opening up this because it's a personal kind of topic, right? But even if it's not your partner for life, right? It can be a close friend, it can be a family member. And then I've seen it happening, it's like destroying families, right? Not only marriages, but I'm talking about families, because these boundaries, or I always think that whenever there is a conflict, there was a communication problem, right? We can talk about it. There's ego involved. Yeah, like, ego is part of life, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all have it. Some they have way more, some they have way less, right? Some they fight for it, some they just don't. They please the others, and then they
Mm-hmm.
become smaller because of that. But and some people they just take advantage. Nevertheless, like any kind of like situation where you have more than one human handling the same thing in some way, there will be this possibility, right? So I think when you are a couple, of course, there is even more because you have like the romantic relationship of the couple is something that's a different kind of relationship that you have with a best friend or another family member, right? So I understand that, and thank you so much for clarifying that, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people out there that are going to be listening to this conversation like, oh, like I'm actually building my business with my partner, so be warned, right? And one thing they mentions like entrepreneurship is not for everyone, and I couldn't agree more because it's hard, right? Like there is one guy in our network that he said something. I don't want to name dropping in here, but it's Matt Essen, right? But Matt said something that I loved, right? What he said is that when you choose to be a business owner, you choose life in the hardest mode. Like he made an analogy with video game, right? It's just like that's it. It's like
Yeah.
it's not for the faint of heart, right? Like you, you need to take decisions that people are gonna hate you for that,
Mm.
right? Like
Yeah.
especially if you have a team, sometimes you have to cut someone loose, right?
Mm-hmm.
Someone that you really like personally, but for the business perspective, it's not working, or there's no
Mm-hmm.
money enough, right? Oh, but then I'm like, I remember once when I was working for one agency, there was one guy that he wasn't performing well, and then
Mm.
when the business owners talked to him, I could see that his performance was like going down, down, down. And then he came and he's like, oh, but I'm gonna get married in 2 months, and then we're buying a house. Like they had to let the person go, right? But does that guy likes them? Clearly not. But the thing is that it was the right decision for the business, right? And doing that sometimes is like taking these kind of decisions, especially when you have a partner, a family member, or a friend, a close friend in there, it may be hard. So if you choose to be a business owner, an entrepreneur, you cannot be a entrepreneur, right? You do not, you cannot just want it. It's like you need to embrace it, right? And I want to explore this a bit more with you, because when you started your business, you were probably fresh out of university and you had one mindset, and I wanted to dig deep a bit more, like how much your mindset changed from that moment to where you are currently.
Oh, if I can rewind everything, I should probably have gone to like an MBA program, to be honest with you, or any business program. But I think I'm on this path for a reason, and I think I am on the right path, right? I'm always a big believer, really leaning towards what my gut's telling me or like what my heart really wants to do. And growing up in Bali and then like sorry, not exiting, but graduating from the art school, I already got a job, right? No, 6 months before that, or was it like a year before I graduated, I already got a graphic designer job. Even though I first started as an assistant and then I became like a junior graphic designer and things like that, I'm already in the right path. And it gave me enough exposure in terms of like what is the real world implementation of being a graphic design really is. My only regret is that I should have probably gone to like a advertising agency before going off on my own building one, right? I feel like that is my one regret, to be honest with you. But I have always felt like there's got to be more than just being a graphic designer. And I think because I didn't realize this when I was young, but I think I was really yearning for this project that really touch on the whole brand aspect, right? Not just the graphic design, not just the messaging, not just the website, but more so like how do you understand a business and then promoting a business and getting success for a business in building that brand for their community. So I felt like in terms of that trajectory, I think I was really just like honing in my skills in my 20s, right? Really trying to like, okay, I need to learn graphic design, I need to learn like website, digital design, UI, UX. And then from there, I learned more on the brand strategy side of things and become a strategist. Um, Overlaying that with experience around like marketing as well. And what really resonated with me in my 20s was my husband has always been a big believer like you have to understand the business side of thing. You can't just like design just for the sake of aesthetics, right? So he really just like pounded in my head. It's like, what is the business goal? Are you really solving a business problem here, or are you just making things pretty? So that was like my big, my big, I would say like heights or battle sometimes with him. Like, no, but it has to be this like amazingly creative and beautiful and all that kind of stuff. And he would like giving me such a hard time. It's like, but yes, I understand that, but what really like is this solving a business problem? And I think it took me a couple of years to finally understand, like, yes, I understand where you're going with this. Business is very important to take into a whole account in all of these different approach, right, for branding and marketing. And alongside with that, I got enrolled into many different types of accelerator program as, as my own business, like understanding like how do I implement, business strategy? How do I implement like the marketing plan and strategy for my own business? How does that relevant with things I do for, my clients and stuff like that? If I have to say how things change from the first year that we started the business into where we are today, I felt like we've grown so much, right? The mindset building, but also the business acumen of how we understand business development has really changed a lot. I think what's really getting me excited about working with clients is to try to understand what are they doing with their business, how do they win in the market, and how do we utilize these uniqueness that they have, right? Unique value proposition, so that we can help them win even more in the market.
And, and there's this shift in the mindset that you mentioned, right? Like even the fact that probably was the biggest one of the biggest conflicts that you had with your husband when he was trying to pound in your head like it's not only to look beautiful, it's like
Yes.
what is the business problem that you're trying to solve, which from what you told me, if he's the CTO, he comes from a technical side. It's like it's actually something that I wouldn't actually expect from someone technical, because I've worked with so many technical people that all they want is to put the nicest feature. Is like they're looking beautiful for design. The equivalent for a software engineer or developer is like this cool new tool or new feature that we can build, right? That solves nothing. It's just cool, right? The fact that he had the refinement of like you need to figure out the business problem is something that I'm like, okay, like maybe I should talk to your your husband, because I really want to dive deep in how he got that. Because let's be honest, we go to school, normal school when we are kids. How much about business do we really learn?
I don't think we learn any business though.
We barely learn, like maybe
Yeah.
nowadays you learn a bit about personal finance, which is already kind of like, wow, revolutionary school, right? Like we know, we learn maths, we learn biology, science, like history, right? The language, whatever country you're from, right? But finances and business, even and you mentioned, oh, I should have gone to business school or like MBA or something, right? You mentioned something like that. I'm like, I agree and I disagree, because there is the part of like, is your curiosity in there? And then when you go into a specific school about that, yeah, you may learn some things, but you may not learn why some things are, right. While if you jump, like you mentioned, like I probably would have gone to an advertisement agency before, right. I wanted to stop you there, but I let you keep going. But why did you say that? Why would you want to go to an advertisement agency before?
I felt like I did not have the advantage that many of my other agency owners peers who have gone to different advertising agency before they started their own firm or their own practice or their own consultancy, right? The main reason why is the network. I felt that was the big thing, but even more so, they were able to carry a lot in their marketing. It's like, oh yeah, we work with all of those brands before. I have experience in all of those brands when I was working at the agency and things like that. And I always felt like I felt a little bit short on that front, right? And I also felt that did I made the wrong decision to start my agency early on rather than, working for a bigger agency before I started my own. So I think that's mainly it. Although now I actually got to connect with some of the most amazing people in the advertising world. One of them is actually the creative director of Leo Burnett. I got introduced to her. She's already retired. Well, I wouldn't say retired. She's doing her own thing, but not working at Leo Burnett any longer. But to be able to connect with her on a personal and professional level and hearing her experience, right, in the agency, it was so fascinating and so inspirational. But even more so, the depth of her approach to brand is super fascinating. And I felt like I'm also learning from her. So, yes, part of it, I think for me, is a little bit of a regret not going to bigger agency before opening my own. But I'm also learning that you can still learn from a lot of these people in a real world situation as a mentor and mentee relationship, or even, like learning from them when they do some teaching or conferences and speaking and stuff like that. But even more so in working with our own clients, right? That really let us like, you guys figure it out, and I'm here to really support you guys with the vision. It's like that is super exciting too, because I get to really learn a lot of things, and we're always honest with our clients, and we will tell them like, hey, honestly, we've never done X, Y, and Z things before. Would you be open for us to just like collaborate on this and then figure out the best way to solve the problem together? And oftentimes they're like, yeah, let's do it. And I think that has been a really great learning phase for us as well, like finding, interesting problem to solve.
But so many things to unpack in there, right? First, one thing that when you said I felt like I lacked some. I'm paraphrasing you here. So you lacked maybe the connections. You felt like you lacked that, right?
Mm.
Maybe the experience. I don't know. But the question that came to my mind was like, why did you feel that? Like, did you serve your clients less because of that, or was it more like an opportunity to get new clients?
I think it's the latter, to be honest with you. I felt like as an immigrant myself, right, coming here at the age of, what was that, 24, I already don't know anybody else here beyond my husband, circle of friends and family. And I think I had to really like start from scratch. And this past 15 years, I continue doing that every day, right? Trying to really like build up my network and things like that. But because in the back of my mind, always felt like, oh, I should have gone to like a bigger agency and have that network built up as well. I just always feel like, okay, maybe I should have done more strategic career building in my early 20s. But honestly, though, I am slowly trying to let that go because I felt like I'm already in this journey and I have my own experience and expertise that I have built. And we are serving very particular type of target audience as well. And I'm a big believer is like I am here in service to others, right? With the agency that I have, I should focus on that and really just like letting go that past of me and that regret so that it won't hold me back.
Yeah, and why I wanted to kind of like ask that, like, or to touch that point, is because I went the opposite way, right? It's like, I mean, I went like, I'm gonna give you a brief kind of overview of what I did, right? I studied
Yeah.
biology, right? And
Mm.
then during my studies, I got an internship in the IT department, right? So think about that, tourism and then like graphic design. So I'm like, I understand what you're talking about. Then the IT, I completed my undergraduate in biology, and then I became an IT technician. I went pro technical, right? And then I felt that I wanted to study a bit more biology and education. So I did my master's in science teaching while working in IT, right? So I literally went down the route of like I should get a lot of experience, like so I worked in there, and then I moved to London, and that's when I got into an agency. So just imagine biology with a master's in science teaching, and I got a developer job, right? Like, and so I get what you mean about like I moved the country. I knew it's like I started fresh,
Yeah.
right? So then I built up. I worked hard, like freaking Brazilians. They work in general, right? We work hard, and if you are an immigrant, you have to work harder than anyone else because then you have something to prove, or you feel like you have something to prove, right? Even to get the job in there, I was responsible for an Englishman being fired, and the people that knew that guy hated me for like a year, right? So they don't get it. Like the native people from whatever you migrate, like they don't get it, right? These things that you have to prove yourself. So, but then I went through like my curiosity. That's why I said like I relate a lot to what you're saying,
Hmm.
right? But then I grinded and then I got the experience, and then then almost 15 years later, I went and
Mm-hmm.
got my own agency. So there's part of me that I said, oh man, I should have like back when I got into I should have just created my own, right? So what you're saying is that I should have more experience. And I say I got a lot of experience, but maybe I don't have the business experience as you have it, because we have a concept when I was learning programming language, it's hard, right? Nowadays it's easy, and the LLM will do it for you. You don't even need to learn it, right? But back then, I had to, as a biologist, I had to learn programming on my own. It's hard. And there is a way we say it's like, learn it the hard way, right? Which is like, don't check anything, type everything, don't copy and paste snippets, you do it, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
learn business the hard way, right? While, yes, I've learned business from within other businesses. I
Mm.
created the relationships that you said. Nowadays, because I have my own businesses, is it easier? Arguably, yes, right? But a lot of things that I've learned, like I had to learn businesses from within, and it was permission based because some bosses they wouldn't allow me to get close to the business decisions while you were sitting on the what we call it the adult stable way before I was, right? You were in conversations with business owners that took me years to get there, right? While from the get-go you were heavy, maybe you didn't have the experience, but you learn things the hard way, which may make you like a business owner that is solid,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
And you've learned a lot from mistakes, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
And there is one thing that I wanted to talk about, like about the being being in life in the hardest mode, right?
Yeah.
You started literally as like I was a junior graphic designer, and then boom, freelancing, business owner, right? So the mindset that you're saying is like the way that I see is more like the conversations or maybe the disagreements that you had with your husband and partner in crime in business. It was more like you were then realizing that your passion had other areas that you had to develop to
Mm-hmm.
make this work.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's how I interpreted what you said. And that's why
Yeah.
whenever someone talks about passion, I said, look, this is the heartbeat that you had to learn,
Yes.
right? This is the thing that's like if we only do things for passion's sake, I'm like, let's be honest, like I hated operations in the beginning. I'm like, oh my god, what the hell is operations? Or oh, finances, like I was terrible at maths. I don't want to even look at that, right? It's like, and when I was an employee, I didn't care. But as a business owner, or when I was doing business coaching, or when I was actually working from the companies, and I started seeing how important it is operations, because I've worked in agencies, I've worked in companies where it was a mess. It was a mess. So anything that came in here, it would come. The output was every time it was different because the process is changing, right? So for me, it was more like observational, and then I had zero power to change from within unless I put my neck out there. Some bosses loved it, some didn't like it that much, right? Because then I'm like, you're a developer, why are you talking about operations? Right? Or you're a product manager, why you're talking about sales? Why you're talking about marketing? I'm like, I'm thinking through a business owner's perspective. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'm not
Exactly.
even being paid in here. I could keep quiet, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there are different battles in there. While you were like on a battle on your own, figuring out this is my passion, and then I like web design, and then suddenly your husband forces you to open your eyes, like you need to understand the business problem that you're solving. And then I don't know, but if I'm putting words in there, it's like I'm assuming you kind of like started to like the beast, or it's like it's a skill set that you never thought you would have to do it, but
Mm-hmm.
you're like, you know what? actually this is not cool. This is cool. Maybe this is kind of
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I think you observe it very well. And, hearing you say that, I think it makes sense how things evolve, right? Because to be honest, these days is not really about designing pixel perfect things for me as much. I mean, I still love doing that. I'm a designer at heart, right? I still love going to, all the design apps that we have and then really creating the design deliverables. But what get me super fired up is really trying to understand like what is the problem for the business right now and how do we solve that. And oftentimes many of the deliverables that we have is going to be part of that solution, but more so it's just like every business has their own unique way of doing things, right? And their own unique value proposition. I found it super fascinating to, whenever we work with clients who maybe are the leader in a particular industry, or they have a really cool product that people just don't know about them yet, but we can see the potential it getting so viral or maybe like super popular. And it's just that it comes back to that gift again, right? Really knowing what is your superpower. And I felt like whenever, new businesses come to us and they have the business idea, but they just don't know where to start or kind of like get things rolling. And for us to be able to guide them along that process, it has its own unique fulfillment, right? The feeling that you have, like being able to like, here you go, like we show you the pathways, we show you the lights, and you just finally see the smile in their eye, sorry, the smile in their face, and their eyes just like, oh my God, I can really see it clearly now. And that's just priceless.
yeah. And that's why I'm saying like because you were following your curiosity. I'm putting that in
Mm-hmm.
there, like correct me if I'm wrong, right? But that's the way I read your story. Like you follow your curiosity. There was like the role of your mentors and the role of your husband as a business partner to force you to see some things, right? There is another guy, the coaches of coaches, right? The coach of coaches, Taki Moore, he said like sometimes you have a limiting belief, and the way that he put, I loved it. He's like, you need to borrow my belief right now, right? Borrow my belief that this is gonna work, and I love that, right? So when your husband was pushing that, like suddenly that made you see things from a different perspective, and maybe you liked it. And as you said, there is a fulfillment on its own when you help a
Mm-hmm.
business owner see things, and they the way that I translate that, you brought clarity to them,
Yeah.
just something that they couldn't see. And your professional eyes that didn't require, from my perspective, advertising agency experience or an MBA or whatever kind of like didn't, like you're where you are because of the experience that you had, the way they were,
Mm.
right? If you had a different kind of trajectory, you would be somewhere else.
Mm.
You wouldn't be the Ari that I'm talking to right now, right? Maybe
True.
you would have like, you know what, this life is comfortable, and then you would be in a big advertising agency right now. Maybe you wouldn't even be married anymore. I don't know, or be married at all, right? It's like I don't know. Maybe you would be still in Bali,
True.
right?
Yeah.
So one thing is that when you were saying like maybe I should let go, or I'm ready to let it go, it's like yes, do it, because you are who you are because of these experiences that you had, right? And I'm a firm believer that yes, of course, we always have some regrets in life. But you know what? You have to see the path that you cross to be where you are, and you see like which are the things that you've done,
Mm-hmm.
and how many people you actually positively affected in this path. Right? We're
Mm.
talking about 15 years. That's what you said, like 15 years
Yeah.
that you are doing that. How
Yeah.
many? businesses have you impacted? How many businesses have you, you know, improved their branding? How many more sales? How much more revenue did you have somewhat your fingers on them? How many people got hired because of that? How many people are like they have a salary nowadays and they are living a comfortable life because you chose to start your freelance pathway and embrace the hard life of an
Oh, thank
entrepreneur,
you.
right? So no, it's just for me trying to bring a bit of clarity for what
Yeah.
you've done,
Mm,
right? And
yeah.
if any, that's what I saw, and that's how I interpret.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. I love that. Oh,
Yeah, no. All right. I I want to touch just one thing that we've kind of circled, and when I say that what's the elephant in the room, which I really think it's important for us to touch, which is like the role of AI and what's the impact of these into businesses, and more importantly, in your agency, in my agencies, like how do you see the impact of AI nowadays?
yeah. Yeah. I love that question because not only it's timely, it's in everybody's mind, right? I mean, we have it left and right now. Every single apps or SaaS products that you have has AI embedded to it now. So you can't really like get away from it. And in fact, it might be too overwhelming because there are just so many of them. Which one do you rely on? And for us in the agency, it's more about utilizing AI as our sidekick, to be honest with you. Many of the different team members that we have are using it in multiple different ways. The majority of the way they're using it is to really boost up their productivity, make sure that they're able to either produce something quickly or maybe quicker, right? In terms of like speed of the deliverables, and then also just trying to stay on top of things even more, right? I felt like the team has been utilizing them very well in that sense. Now, deliverable wise though, I think the biggest impact for AI for us is really on two areas. Number one, it's on generative assets in particular. For example, like illustration or imagery assets, any visual assets, really, right? A lot of these has been very helpful for not just us, but also for our clients because sometimes they don't have a big budget to do photo shoot, right? So we were able to at least assist them in a lot of the Gen AI tools that we have to help them get there. And on the content generation as well, we've seen a big help around that. In the development side of things, QA getting a lot easier for the dev team so that they don't have to like spend way too many hours on QA. So I felt like to some degree overall, this has really helped us boost up the productivity and also deliverable wise on our production. For business sense in general, I think there are two sides here. One is that the perception of everything needs to be instantaneous, right? People want things like much faster, quicker, can I have it tomorrow at 2 p.m.? I was like, so I think there's this like a balance that we're trying to approach in terms of like what type of clients do we really want to work with, especially with AI assisted tools that we have? And where is the value in terms of like what we're bringing into the table? Now, what I can tell you from what we currently have right now is we're leaning more towards working with more of a mature businesses who just, I'm not going to say that they don't have time. It's more so like they want to focus on a very specific part in their business and they need reliable partners to take care of all the other aspect of the business, right? Whereas many of the clients that we work in the past, they try to do everything, and only bringing in outsource team to help here and there. I feel like we're leaning more towards businesses who really know that, okay, you guys, we come to you for your expertise and leadership, and we are ready for that essentially, right? So I think those are where we're taking the agency, as well as all the different AI tools that assisting us as well. So I hope that helps a little bit in terms of like how AI is playing a role in our own agency right now. But I am really curious how things will evolve as we start seeing so many different tools. I mean, you can certainly build a website within just a couple of hours, right? But is that the right strategy? Is that the right representation of your brand? And if you're the business owner trying to do all of that, wouldn't your time be better spent on actual building the business and generating clients or customers rather than on something else?
Yeah, and I love that you were super transparent at saying that your team uses, because a lot of people inside the creative agency community, they pretend that they are not using it, right? Like, and I hate that. I'm like, look, just let's be honest. Like, if you have like 10 interns and then you
Mm-hmm.
replace them all with an AI, it's like, who cares,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, are you shipping your output normally? I'm almost sure that you're shipping even faster, because the interns, they're still
Yeah.
learning, right? So you need to teach
Yeah.
them. Whilst AI with a good instruction,
Mm-hmm.
they have the knowledge, right? They may not have the taste, but they have the knowledge, right? So the output is great. And an AI in the hands of a senior professional, it's a game changer, right? So you can the output of a senior person that I've seen is like, you can at 10 times the output. And I've worked in hiring. We were always talking about those employees that they were 10 times the compared to the other ones, right? Now with AI, any senior employee that is half decent, they 10 times the output that they did a year ago. Easy. Like, especially like in coding, as you said, like QA. Oh my god! Like, even the QA team hated themselves. Most of them that I know of, they were there because nobody wanted to do it, and they were there for the money because they hated
Yeah.
to do it themselves too, right?
Right.
So give it to AI. So, and be
Exactly.
transparent about that. So there is that thing, right? That side that I love, that your transparency. There is the side of the businesses that I think, as you were thinking, as you were saying, I kept thinking, like, there are businesses out there that they know of AI and they haven't even started touching ChatGPT, for example, right? And when you said about the types of clients that I will paraphrase and use my own words in here, it's like when they have to when they have to be refined enough to see that your help as a whole, right, is where you shine the most. That's where you can be more effective. You and your team can be more effective. These are kind of the business owners that you want to work with, right? And I love that. And then they should embrace that you use AI, and they should understand that it's not because I'm using AI that I can do what you are asking for like 5 seconds ago. Still, there's the human perspective in there, the human touch, that has a time of its own.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Maybe the output of AI is quick, but let the senior human now handle the
Exactly.
rest. Still, is going to be faster than just a human.
Yep. Yep. I think you bring a really good point in terms of like at the end of the day, it is still up to us, right? The expert to really decide whether or not those output um, is the right output for the business. But the AI role here really is to help speed the, how should I say, the process in general, but also like thinking of other ways that maybe we haven't really um, consider. So I think it's opening more towards like different ideas that maybe we could, explore further. So I think it's fantastic for that. But at the end of the day, for the talent themselves to decide, are we using this input and output correctly for the business based on their problems right now? And is this the right solution for them?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's all about like your expertise,
Mm-hmm.
and when you investigate the business needs of your clients' business needs and their objectives, that's where you can, of course, output what they wanted
Mm-hmm.
in the beginning. But now that you have AI, I was having a conversation with another with a friend, right? That he said that with AI right now, he can give way more than what he promised. Which I translate into what you're saying. Now we can explore other areas, right? Which is like you get the time back. It doesn't mean that right now I do what I promised and it's cheaper for me and I'll keep charging you exactly the same thing. It's more like, oh, now the team has the capacity to explore other things that for the same budget we wouldn't be able to do it for time constraints. So even when you said about like, oh, the photo, they don't have the budget for a professional photo shoot that would be perfect. Let's use AI. Or one thing that I saw that it used to happen a lot when I was an employee in an agency is just like sometimes we had a great idea, but we needed an illustrator to do like an amazing illustration about something that now it's a commodity. It's like 5-10 minutes prompting. You get into an illustration that you're like, this would take a month for a professional to come close to this. It may not be perfect yet, but to be honest, with a professional illustrator, it would take 2-3 months to get as close as possible to perfect. But still, right now, 10-15 minutes later, you have something, right? But then it gives the team, if the team has the ethics that I believe yours has, and the way that I train my whole team and the ones that I hired, right? It's just like, what else can we do, right? Because think about that. A real partner like your team, right? It's like it's like a good employee. A good employee does what they are asked and they do more, right? So yes, agency level is a transactional relationship. Yes, as any employee has too.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
then it comes down to like, is there something else in there that we can like we watch your back? Like, oh, you're not paying attention to this, and because of our expertise, now that we have the extra time, have you considered that? Or you know what? Before I ask you, have you considered that? It's like we actually ran 3 experiments and we came with this, and then like, have you considered that? Because we have and we tried this, and this seems to be the best one. And they're like, this is the part of AI that I think is a game changer. And people are not talking about that because they're talking about, oh, it's disrupting. Now the agencies, they're money grabbers, or, oh, now everyone's gonna get fired. Oh, I'm creative. My life is going towards the end. Am I right? Aren't you
You
listening to these
are.
things? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. But I think you have to really leverage the tools that you have. I felt like strong creative, right? Be creative. It's not just about the output that you're developing that you can produce, right? I think being a creative means that you also have a creative mindset, regardless of other tools or whatever situation that you're in. You're thinking outside the box, and I think that's what it truly means to be a creative.
Yeah. And even the example that I showed an illustrator, right? I, I did that. It was a designer. He wanted something, right? He was an illustrator. He was a designer. It's like, oh, I have this idea, and then I found a tool, and then I'm like, okay, let me draw here on paper. Is this what you want? It's like, yes, but it needs to be like in shapes. And I'm like, okay. And then I took a photo, and then I went to the tool, and then I just gave a prompt, and then suddenly he's like, oh my God, that's what I wanted. And I'm like, I'm a developer, man, and I'm drawing and I'm using the tool that you should know. Instead of you like, because he was complaining, he was like, yeah, like
Yeah.
AI is destroying. I'm not gonna have a job. I'm like, dude, because you need to adapt,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Exactly.
Instead of going against it, it's like the genie is out of the goddamn lamp. There is no turning back, right? The
True. Yeah.
Pandora box has been opened. It's like, this is it, right? But and that's why I said that I admire that you were transparent about that, because a lot of people, they are pretending it's not there. Some business owner, especially if they're traditional, they're like, no, we don't use that. I think it was uh, last year when we had a chat, I was telling you about one business owner that said like, you know that websites don't do anything for sales. I'm like, excuse me, right in my head, right? And that same guy, he was telling me that he does, he checks all his prospects, and he checks all the signals if they changed career. And then I said like, how do you do that? Like, yo, I have a guy that does that. I'm like, and how does he do that? Oh, he checks on Sales Navigator, and then this, and then I'm like, aren't you using any AI tools for it? No, 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 no. AI tools are terrible. I'm like, excuse me, right? So, and they're making money. Their company is like huge, right? But still, like they're either like pretending that this is not for me, I don't want to fire my
Mm.
people,
Yeah.
or they have some sort of prejudice. And that
Mm.
the guy had a bit of prejudice against kind of anything marketing related, right? And just imagine if you say, oh, but what about I'm using it, and they're like, oh, you money grabber, right? It's like, so you have to charge me 1/5 because you're paying $20 for ChatGPT. It's not exactly like that. I understand
Yeah.
where you're coming from, but
Yeah. 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 Definitely.
so did you have any kind of issues like that with your clients?
You know, I would say yes, definitely. There are some of that perception that, oh, these days you can do a lot of these with AI. We just need somebody to do it, right? Fantastic. We can do it for you. And here's our prize, right? I think it will come down to the right mindset of the business owner. Is this really a business problem that they have to solve, or is just a nice to have thing, right? So I felt like I can't really compete with a particular price that they already have in their mind. If they already set on, doing something for less, I can't convince them to spend more if they already stuck on I can get something for less. Right? It comes down to like, are we serving the right target audience with the right mindset as well? And knowing that the value that we bring is not just because we're using tools that helping us, but also the expertise that we have developed for the past 15 plus years.
Yeah, yeah. I have some counter arguments when people come like that. I'm like, okay, it's like you're a good professional. So let's say just do you use a computer? Yeah, yeah, I do. It's like, does it help you? Yeah. It's like, so I'm not gonna pay your price because you're using a computer. So you should do everything on paper. And no, it's gonna take me. So there you go, man. I'm using AI. It means that I can
Yeah,
produce a lot because I use AI. It's like if I
yeah,
have to do everything manually, I'm gonna charge you
right.
2 times when I'm actually offering you right now. I can do it. Are you willing to pay? No, it has to be cheaper. It's like if you want cheaper, there is this great website called Fiverr. You can find people that will do for really cheap.
Right. Yeah.
Once that doesn't work, you call me again,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, and that's when I say it's like sometimes we need to. to sound really bad. That's the part of being an entrepreneur, that you have to
Yeah,
fight for it and not be a people pleaser, and being able,
exactly.
like, if I'm gonna work with you, we have to be on the same terms,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, these are part of the being an entrepreneur, taking hard decisions that sometimes the faint of the heart wouldn't take it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Agreed.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Ari, I think we could be talking here for like another couple of hours, and it's been a long time. I'm loving it, but I just wanted to thank you for being here, for giving all your time for my audience in here to share your expertise. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate.
Anytime. Thank you so much for having me.
It was great, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna have another conversation.
Sounds good. All right. Thank
Right.
you.
Thank you.